It's hard to believe, and it's really strange to say this. Dare we even suggest this, in fact? But could the reason why Meghan Markle's Spotify podcasts are not rated as well as they possibly could be because of the dreaded B word? No, we're not talking about the word that she claims, or indeed bimbo. Could it be simply that they're boring? Yes, I know, frightening to suggest even, isn't it? But it's also interesting to note that could possibly Meghan's lack of interaction with the guests be another major factor. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning, Neil. Sean here in the very heart of London. And as ever, nice to see you today. Hope you're all keeping well, whatever you're doing. It's interesting, isn't it, with Meghan and Harry, because seemingly they do not want to put in any of the work. I mean, I find this incredible. If somebody was offering you a mega deal, as Spotify did over 2.5 years ago now, you would think you'd put some effort in. If you recall, Spotify got that fed up waiting for Meghan and Harry to come up with a plot that they gave them producers, researchers, fact checkers, all of that sort of stuff to try and kickstart something going so they got something back for their return. Now, in balance, of course, Meghan and Harry could say that thanks to them, lots of people know that Spotify exists. I don't know about you, I wouldn't possibly log on to these things. You know, anything where you have to fill in a form, I get a little bit bored with, don't you? Can't be bothered. Turn on the radio, it's free and cheaper. But back to Spotify, they finally got some product out of Meghan Markle, finally. But now it's emerged that Meghan, as one would suspect, is rather picky about exactly the direct contact of which she wishes to partake in. And I use this term loosely, but there's two sides to this story, so do bear with me. What's emerged really is that Meghan's team have made the initial contact, ran through questions, that sort of stuff. Meghan, does she do the full interviews with those select guest stars? Well, it remains to be seen. There's lots of dubs, lots of edits. That's the reason why you don't hear interaction, people talking over each other, because most of the questions are gone through once or twice, once by the producer and possibly a second time by Meghan herself, if she can fit it in as a busy working mom of two. You get the picture. Now, what's interesting on the other side of the coin as well is that, you know, she is a busy person, according to her team. And that's the reason why, like most people doing podcast productions, that sort of stuff, all the research, all the checking is done through her production team, not necessarily her. So she's down for the very final moment of the chat. Or indeed, is she? What's emerging really is this, and this is possibly why there's a lack of, well, interesting content, because we get a lot of Meghan talking about her favourite topic, herself, but not really much interaction or indeed extraction from some of those rather interesting guests, like Mariah Carey. Of course, not many of them are available in the flesh. They can, of course, be recorded digitally via Zoom or FaceTime, that sort of thing, and then edited up to make the quality sound a little bit better. But as we often say here on the show, everything that Harry and Meghan do is surrounded by mystery. So really, is Meghan Markle an interviewer of some repute, or simply could she not be fagged to actually sit down on a one-to-one basis with her own subjects? Now, a very close source in her team tells me that Meghan herself is a rather nervous interviewer, likes to take the time, and is just growing into the role. So people really should be a little bit more kind and not so cruel about her interviewing techniques. Well, you know, it's difficult not to be unkind, isn't it? Because when you think about it, she comes into her own talking about herself, but seemingly has problems being invigorated, interested, or interacting with those people that she's kindly invited onto her show. Either way, one might suggest that she's good for business simply because those people that we've never heard of at least have now been heard of, and their websites have seen traffic. People now know their name, but it remains to be seen if you could actually say any of those Spotify interviews will ever go down in the annals of real history, and more importantly, used in research in years to come. As ever, whichever way you look at it with Harry and Meghan, it seems all is not what it seems. And for Meghan, once again, unless she puts the full interview in not just audio, but visual form also, seemingly nobody's going to actually believe whether she does the interviews herself or not. As ever, I'll throw this back to you to decide what you think to this particular breaking news story. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.